Hey guys, I'm Caleb Giddings for Taurus USA, and we're going to talk today about a couple of different ways to draw your new Taurus 608 competition in a match. So we're going to look at a couple of different start positions that you're likely to see in matches, as well as a couple of different techniques for getting the gun out of the holster. Now, I am using a very competition-focused holster here. This is the Ghost holster. It only retains the revolver by the trigger guard. So this is legal for USPSA or I-Corps or Steel Challenge competition, but would not be legal in a more practical sport like IDPA. The other thing that this holster has is it has a lock feature that I'm going to engage when I'm not actively drawing or holstering the gun. That keeps it from falling out of the holster if I'm walking around and I bump it on a table or something like that. So now that we've talked a little bit about the holster, let's talk about the different ways that you can draw this gun from various start positions. And the first one we're going to talk about is how I draw the gun. And I have built my draw for competition to be something that I can do regardless of where my hands are starting. If you've never shot a USPSA or I-Corps match before, different stages will dictate different positions for your hands to start. The most common is wrists below belt. This is where your wrists must merely be below your belt line. It doesn't matter if they're over here, wherever you want to put them, so long as your wrists are below your belt. In this very common USPSA start position, how I like to set up is I will actually have my forearm resting on the butt of my gun. What that does is that tells me where the butt of my gun is, because if I'm touching it with my arm, my brain knows where my arm is, so it then knows where the gun is. And then from this position, my draw is very straightforward. I'll actually come up over the top of the gun. Both hands will move together. I'll establish my master grip on the gun, lift it clear of the holster. My support hand joins by taking this part of my index finger, hitting the bottom of the trigger guard, and then completing my master grip and driving the gun to the target. What I don't do is bring the gun into my eye line and then go straight out. Because I'm drawing from a holster like this, the movement of the gun is basically on an escalator. From where my hands come together, the gun sort of rides up and out at a 45-degree angle until it arrives in my eye line. Now you'll notice that when I'm drawing, I do come up and then back down on top of the gun. The reason for that is utilizing that motion means that accessing the gun is the same regardless of start positions. For example, in Steel Challenge and Bianchi Cup, every stage must be started with my wrists above my shoulders. And you'll see a lot of different variations of this. Some people will do a full-on hands up, don't shoot position. Other people will touch the brim of their ball cap. Everyone has sort of developed their own version of wrists over their shoulders for over the years. The one that I use positions my strong hand by my right ear and my non-dominant hand directly next to my strong hand. Neither of my hands is in front of my eyes, so I can clearly see the thing that I'm going to draw the gun and aim at, but my hands are positioned here so that when I access the gun, again, both hands start moving at the same time. When the timer beeps, my dominant hand goes straight down to the gun and lands on the grip. My support hand stops moving in this area as the dominant hand lifts the gun up, and then my hands meet in the exact same way they did on my last draw and moves the gun to the target. That's why I use a draw that comes down on the top of the gun regardless of my start position. If my wrists are below my belt, I come on the top of the gun and I move straight to the target. If my wrists are above my shoulders, I come down on the top of the gun and lift it and move straight to the target. In USPSA and I-Corps, you'll have other start positions as well. You may have a start position where you have to place your hands on a table. You may have to place your hands on a wall. One of the stages in Bianchi Cup, you start with your hands on the barricade. Regardless of where my hands are, utilizing a draw where my hand comes down on top of the gun first and then lifts it out of the holster means that the motions that I make once my hands start moving are the same regardless of where they started from. So you could, for example, start with your hands on a barricade, doing some sort of crazy lean because it says start position is hands on X's and the X's are over here and I'm trying to see a target that's over there. My hands are going to move the same. They're going to start here, go down, hit the top of the gun, lift the gun out of the holster, and go to wherever the target is. Just because I'm in an unusual position doesn't change how I'm accessing the gun. And I told you all of that to talk about why I don't do the following technique, because there is another way to get this gun out of the holster, and that's called the scoop draw. The scoop draw is faster than the way I draw the gun. And if my only goal was pure blazing draw speed, I would spend hours and hours and hours practicing a scoop draw. But that's not my only goal. My goal as a competition shooter is to successfully get through the 18, 20, 30 rounds of the stage. And if the difference in my draw from the way I draw a gun is 0.2 seconds versus a scoop draw, there's way other better ways to find 0.2 seconds in the course of the stage than a risky draw. But because I know people will ask, here's what the scoop draw looks like. And the reason why I don't do this is the scoop draw really is only something you can use if your start position is wrists below your belt. On a scoop draw, my dominant hand will start down here by the gun, and instead of coming up onto the back strap of the gun and going down, I simply scoop it out of the holster. It really only works with a couple of different types of holsters, but it's not practical necessarily for concealed carry. It's certainly not practical if you want to, keep your gun in your holster, because I have seen people practicing a scoop draw and come up and hit their holster and the gun tumbles and ends up on the ground, and then you're DQ'd and you feel really bad about yourself and a whole bunch of other things. But I will say this, the scoop draw is really fast. It is probably the quickest way to get a gun out of the holster and on target, but for me, that benefit isn't worth the risk of messing up my draw, missing a draw, dropping the gun, or something like that. That's why my technique for getting this gun out of the holster is always going to be, regardless of hand position, coming down onto the back strap and then lifting the gun clear. Whether it's wrists below belt, wrists above shoulders, or some unusual start position like hands on a wall, I'm always going to lift the gun out of the holster the exact same way every time. If you've got one of the new 608 competitions and you're interested in learning more about how to run this gun in competition, about all the other different things you can do with it, you can head to Taurus USA and check out the articles on our website for more information about the 608 competition and Revolver competitions. And if you want to go shoot a match, just go check out Practice Score and find a Revolver match near you.